For it's worth, I just wanted to share something that occurred to me today when I was in a Firehouse Subs. I was in a Firehouse Subs, and today's like sort of a semi-holiday. It's Black Jesus Day, you know. So things are a little more mellow in these. There's a different feel than what you'd find on a typical work day. And there was a young woman, pleasant looking, fairly attractive, but like young. I'm not saying, like hubba hubba or anything, because she was young enough to be my daughter. So I mean, she looked like since she was in her early 20s. So definitely nothing like that occurred to my mind. I assure you. But she saw me and she smiled at me. And I'm not usually the recipient of a smile from a young lass. So, but then I noticed before my ego could get too stroked, I noticed that this girl was sitting down at a table, or when she went back to sit down, she was sitting at a table with another girl. And they both had name tags. And I realized they were Mormon missionaries. They were sister missionaries sitting in this subway, or this Firehouse Subs, having their lunch. And I thought to myself, yeah, they would be friendly. They would be nice. They would greet strangers, strange middle-aged men, with a friendly demeanor. That's what they do. That's the Mormon way. And then I thought about it some more, and I realized, now I'm not recommending this per se, but it's something to think about. The reason I'm not recommending this is because it's like I'm not for doing things like converting for tactical reasons. I think one should convert to a faith that one finds to be the truth, and that's why I am Catholic. In spite of all the problems with Catholicism today, undeniably, but that's who I am. That's where I am, and I am not saying to young men today who are looking for love. I'm not saying become a Mormon. Okay, I'm not saying go LDS. But I am saying that it strikes me that amongst the LDS society, amongst LDS culture, in LDS culture, I should say, there is probably far less of the kind of problems that you see between the sexes in the outside of the LDS church. That is to say, what you have with the Mormons is you have people. It's still a cultural thing, probably not as much as it used to be, but it's still not unusual at all for them to marry quite young, and there is pressure to marry, and young women who are LDS want to marry. So it just strikes me that there's probably less of a problem with hypergamy, like malignant hypergamy that we see among so many young women today. There's probably less of a problem with, he has to be perfect, but I have to become, a boss babe first, and I have to put my career first until I'm 35, and then I'll and just sleep around with chads, that kind of stuff. I'm sure it still happens. Don't get me wrong. I'm not naive. I'm sure it still happens among religious people, including the LDS. But it seems to me that there is something in the culture that still very much militates against that. And so what you have are young women who are desirous of marrying. And they're probably more likely not to have lower standards about men, but to have more realistic standards. If it's a priority to marry when you're still fairly young because you want to have children, then there's probably less of a, oh, he's got to. I'm rejecting this guy even though he's got 70% of what I want or 80% of what I want because he's got to be perfect. And all these men want my attention all around the world. Well, that's probably far less true for LDS young LDS women. I dare say it was true about these two sister missionaries that I saw who looked like very, very pleasant young women too. So just something to think about. Again, I'm not saying become a Mormon. And I'm sure I'll have somebody out there saying, no, you're wrong. The black pill is everywhere. And it's just as bad with the Mormons as it is everywhere else. I'm sure someone will chime in. I'm sure I'll hear from Mr. Black Pill. I grew up LDS and it's just as bad there as it is everywhere else. I'm sure I hear you. I know you're out there. I get it. I get it. But nevertheless, some things to think about. I don't know. What do y'all think? Let me know.